I must tell you first what Dushyant briefed to me regarding this particular podcast.
Okay.
So that I have to ask you a couple of questions that is going to make you make controversial statements.
I don't have filters. I will be honest. Maybe controversial, may not be controversial. I don't know.
Perfect. Sir.
I'll just be honest. Yeah.
Welcome to Podcast 4 with Viveka Kalidasan and Sunil.
Founders Brew, you forgot that.
Founders Brew
Yeah.
is a podcast where we unpack the good, bad, and ugly. It's a conversation between three friends where you get to know all the realities that we're facing. Idea is to have a general conversation, no gyan, no strategies, nothing. It's pure, simple conversation. So when we were deciding about this specific podcast, the first one that came to my mind was Viveka. She was an early supporter of SmartWest, the startup that I'm in right now. She's in Industry 5.0, one of the few women that I know to be involved in manufacturing and in the innovation space. And she's Dr. Viveka. She's done immense study in this medical the innovation space. So, Viveka, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for making time.
Oh, it's always a pleasure. I love to catch up with you. Nice meeting you, Sunil. Yeah.
Thank you. So you're one of those rare people who are not having the AI tag along with you. Yours is manufacturing.
Okay.
So that's a refreshing change.
Let
Okay.
me correct.
Yeah.
She started in manufacturing. A lot of her startups, her venture studio that incubates AI.
Why don't we let her introduce herself?
Okay. You want me to introduce myself?
Yes.
And you can talk about Brew venture as well. The support system for and give a preamble of what it is all about, and then we can get into our conversation.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Introducing myself is a bit, I don't know. Okay. I always like to put it this way. I'm a small town girl with really big, larger than life dreams at times. And dreams are nice, but it's very challenging. It's very nice to walk the road, have this journey with people, amazing people around, trying to do something innovative and disruptive. I always like to put it this way. There are some I's in my life, which is not AI, I's in my life, which is innovation, okay, and then impact, and Industry 5.0 and inclusivity. These are the 5 I's I live by, and I make sure that my personal life and professional life is somehow tied, intervened in a way that I'm able to achieve all these 4 I's in my life. And I think through River Venture Studio, at least to some extent, I'm able to consciously make sure it is a deep tech venture studio. So there's a lot of scope for innovation there. And we are looking at disruptive deep tech technology. So there's impact there, and it's Industry 5.0. I picked up the concept of Industry 5.0 at least 1.5 years ago, because Dushyant, I built Singapore's first Industry 4.0 focused accelerator. Then that was during my pregnancy and maternity. And I realized, like you said, Sunil, manufacturing is actually not my background. I took up the challenge, and then I realized that except me, every other person that I met with, whether it's the corporate leader or founders like Dushyant, everybody was a man. Then I thought I want the space to be gender inclusive. Then I thought, okay, one step more, why just gender inclusive? Inclusive in general, there are different forms of inclusivity. So we even, an uneducated person, sort of not school-gone person, can be innovative as well. Including them to build a deep tech venture is also inclusive. So I thought, okay, Industry 5.0 is the way forward. So let's focus on that. And innovative, yes. Impactful, yes. Industry 5.0, we can talk about it later. But I think when you're building a deep tech venture in the Industry 5.0 space, it's definitely going to be impactful. And inclusivity, I consciously try to make sure that these startup founders that we work with, the C-suite is inclusive enough. It can be 2 men, it can be 2 women, but there should be some kind of diversity and inclusivity still incorporated. 2 they should be different men, or 1 man, 1 woman. I don't know. Just conscious decision to make some difference.
Yeah, that's great. And I see in every panel that we talk about, these flavors come out of impact, Industry 5.0, and innovation, and it's a great thing that we're building in around using India as well as in Singapore. So one question, Viveka, I mean, why venture studio? I mean, do you think all the accelerators have lost their innovation, and so therefore venture studio are ready to take your place? Why do you decide from an accelerator to a venture studio?
Yeah, that's a good question. I started as an accelerator in the sense that it was easier for us to get started with already existing startups that are out there and how we can support. But I just started, but when I started, I know that this is not my end goal. This is just the means to the end, and the end is a venture studio where I don't like to call myself a scientist at all, but then I'm a scientist by training, right? I like to build and create things. There's a lot of scope for us to create more deep tech ventures. The more and more you go out there and look at unmet needs, okay? Sometimes there are startups there. It's my job to identify them, to address those problems. Sometimes we can build deep tech ventures to address those problems. And also, I will be dishonest if I don't mention that I realize that IP is an asset class, and I want to be behind creating new IPs or like IPs that are in the universities already, license out. And so I believe that IP is a new asset class. That's also why I want to have a venture studio model where we will create deep tech ventures. Yeah.
So I had a related question. So venture studios kind of are reducing the risk where it's like a lab that is being provided. So is it something like that? I mean, does it reduces the founder's risk in terms of what is being done? The founder comes with the idea. But then does it really go into making the founders more like operators than and then like entrepreneurs? Is that something? Because we've seen this over, and I spent about I've been here for a little less than 3 years in Singapore, but back in India, that's what it has become. A venture studio is it's de-risking, but then the founders are not entrepreneurs; they're more like operators. So any thoughts on that?
I don't know, at least my venture studio is not like that at all. We empower them, that's what we do. We definitely, venture studio is here to de-risk, bring in all those resources. It's like a simple analogy would be the way I was raised. My parents, they gave us all the freedom, but I just realized when later in my life that actually they were having some kind of a string attached, but you don't see them at all. You had all the freedom. You always knew that there's always a fallback for you. You go home, you fall, there is somebody waiting for you. So that is what I was raised, and I live by that. And that's kind of the way that I have River Venture Studio. You can talk to our founders. There's one startup, they just graduated from Raffles Institute. They joined River Venture Studio. That day evening, they were going to join NS, and that day morning, they became a part of us. Very young guys, right? And we still, while we give them resources, while we open manufacturing factories for them to deploy, we guide them what to do, but everything, the decision at the end of the day comes from them. And we just make sure that they make the right decisions, we give them the right resources, we bring them the right investors. And yes, but everything else is on them. It is, at the end of the day, it's their baby. They know more about it than us, and I respect, because I would want the same for me. If somebody is coming to my venture studio and trying to hijack everything, which is my baby, how would I feel? So I bring that. We are a very boutique organization, so we still feel it's human one interaction, right? I bring that to the table. Yeah.
So I think I'll ask you this question. I know relevance here is special, and does that for founders collaborates between the college, between the universities and the founders, and plus brings in its own expertise to nurture the founders. So therefore, de-risking at each of these levels. I think his theme was more about maybe the other venture studios. Do you think that that's like a model?
So I think Viveka touched on that, and the model of what a venture studio actually should be. What you defined is what a venture studio actually should be. You provide the guardrails, you have the safety net for people who've got an idea but don't know how to go about it. Lots of time, first-time founders, even like people like me, don't know a lot of things that are required because we just assume that things are going to be there. So you provide that guardrail, that safety net. And in a sense, venture studios were supposed to theoretically democratize entrepreneurship. That was what venture studios all started off with. But increasingly, and this is where my controversial bit comes in, and I'm asking somebody who's running a venture studio, increasingly it's become like sort of, it's become a club where insider capital is available for a set of people who want to do something. So is that is that something which you're seeing, because you're part of that industry? And it's not to critique the industry, but more like a soul searching that needs to be there. Because one reason why I ask is because I mentor a couple of real early stage startups, golden piece of idea and all of that. And typically there is that fear with some of these people that I don't want to go to a venture studio because I'm going to give way too much equity and I don't get enough in return. And that's something, it'll be great help if for early stage startups, if you dispel that myth or clarify on that.
I've heard the venture studio, they would take about 60 to 70% upfront and then only 30%. And especially on those where it's almost like a factory. I've got a SaaS product, I've got an insurance product, come run it for me and take about 30% equity. It's like the other way.
Okay, I'm going to answer it in two. One is about what we do. I think I kind of answered that already.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the other, let me answer. I understand your concerns because before doing this, I was also one of the startup founders who was, I don't want to take names, but I've been in a situation where during my postdoc, when I invented the medical, not device, it's a medical technology, I was also, that time, as the first time founder, there was a venture studio, there is a venture studio still, who was putting in a little bit of money, give that office space, give all the resources, and they also pay monthly, so that I kind of become like an employee, and it was like more than 50% equity. And my mentors told me, never go and join, that's really very aggressive. But I should tell you, from where I was at that time, I thought, I'm building a medical technology. It really takes a lot of energy and resources. Honestly, I don't mind giving if I'm able to get that task done. And I was the first time founder. For me, at that point, I thought I need those resources. Okay, I did not eventually go and join because so much. Sometimes I feel I'm the entrepreneur, I'm in the driver's seat, but I was not allowed to take decisions. So eventually I did not end up in that venture studio. Good or bad, I don't know. I don't like to look at life that way at all. That was a lesson, and that was an experience. And okay, fine. But now that is like in my subconscious mind. Even today, I felt what I felt that day was right. I'm not telling today when I look back, oh, that looks very aggressive. Actually, no. I felt that day, that point, that spatio-temporal region, that was right, and I still stand by it. But will I do it in the same way when I do something? No. Because me as a person respects other person's autonomy, independence. These are something that's it's inside me. So when I go and start something, even if I put money, whether I put money or whether I don't put money, I would never take away anybody's autonomy or independence or freedom to decide from them. That's just me. So when I do a venture studio, it will have a certain characteristics. But then coming back again, I still believe that venture studios should not be aggressive as they are, but they do give the resources, and it is totally up to the founder's decision whether they want to give away so much or so little for the resources. I think we as adults can, okay, this venture studio ABC, you can compare, and where you feel is benefit for you, you can. I can't go and tell the venture studio founders how to run it, but this is how I run my show. But for the founders to whether go and join, it's totally up to them.
Right.
And at least in River, we don't take that much equity. Two reasons. One, first, I'm not investing. I'm giving resources. Money is a resource. Money alone is not a resource. I'm giving so much other resources, at least as of today. Tomorrow I may invest, but we will never take so much equity. It will always be less than 10%.
Great. I love that point where the decision is on the founders
Yeah.
and they need to be able to weigh
Yeah.
pros and cons.
Yeah.
Whether it's good and bad, weigh the economics versus the resources that are getting inside. But what in your mind is like a sweet spot between, say, giving out, fleshing out equity versus maintaining their own? Where do you think, I mean, like a range? If somebody is right now at the same spot, same gesture as what you were, say,
7 years ago. Yeah.
what would be might be your 2 cents on this?
I think the founder should think about their technology and their go-to-market strategy, whether it really requires that much resources that's coming with it. So the sweet spot, again, I tell you, you need to look at what the venture studio has to offer and what your technology you should know. You can't, you should have realistic, you can't have a medical device and say, oh, it's very easy, I can bring it to market very easily. Or you don't have to give away so much for a B2B SaaS platform. If the venture studio asks 50% for a B2B SaaS platform, I think it's actually not needed. Yeah, there are other resources like mentors and other kind of resources that can help you do that. So again, it's totally the founder should know their technology and their product very well, very realistic. Every founder tends to think that mine is amazing, I can just bring. I also see this thing. When for an early stage founder, when they don't have money to give as a retainer or something or pay, the only thing that they have to offer is equity. So you have to play equity very safely and very rightly. You can't desperately give away so much to get so little done. At the same time, there are founders who are super stingy in giving. You don't give money, you don't give equity also, then please, you really think you can go and do things by yourself?
Yeah, I think I hear what you're saying, because this is something that say if when I've been involved with startups which have got a second time founder, right? Somebody who's done something successful, not successful, and they're doing it again. They become tight-fisted with retainers as well as equity, because equity becomes very valuable.
That's right.
The first time around they did that, they gave 30% in the first round, all of that. By the time, Series A happened, the founding team is less than 20%. So, and there are stories enough on Reddit and everywhere else, and LinkedIn particularly, which has got a lot of stories about how founders have been cheated out of their right. Good, bad, anecdotal, it's all there. Whereas the other side, first-time founders who have never done this before, who come in from corporates, who know how it works in the corporate world, but are now come in and are setting something up, they are looking at it from the point of view of saying that, okay, I need these resources. I'm very happy giving, say, 30-40% away at the stage of an incubator. Now, what responsibility does the venture studio have at that point in terms of tempering that down? So if the venture studios ask is 30% and 40%, 50%, then there are certain class of startups that you can work with, right? But then there are certain other class of thing where you don't really need to do that kind of a deal, because if you're doing that kind of a deal, then you're not being a venture studio, you're a consulting company with a cap table. Right? That's the way say. And this is something that I've heard so many times, and it's very difficult. So how does one balance? I mean, our audience is early stage startup. Largely, the both of us are non-tech guys who have built some technology product.
Okay.
Right? Non-tech people who build some technology product for whatever reason.
A love for technology. Okay.
So what's your advice to people like that?
You mean founders like that?
Founders like
venture
that.
studio founders or startup founders?
Oh, startup founders. Venture studio founders have it good. So let's...
Don't tell that. I don't think that's true. Okay, at least not for me. Okay, yeah.
So more about the founders, because that's the audience that is listening in. So if somebody were to come and pitch to you, what's your advice to them?
About joining my venture studio or any venture studio?
Any venture studio.
Yeah, again, like I said, it's very simple. The founder, he or she should know what they want, what their product is, and where they want to go in the next 5 years. So when I recruit founders, right, it's always like this. So we try to understand their product, and I try to understand. So River Venture Studio is a Singapore based, but we're a global thing. So for a founder who's not based in Singapore, he or she, the reason why they're joining us is they're looking at APAC as a market, or some geographies that we are very strong in, GCC or APAC as a market. So do you want to build and scale your technology in this part of the world, right? Then we are here, backed by the Singapore government and all the resources. Do you feel this venture studio in this geography is good fit for you? And then here are the list of things that we can do for you, and this is what we are asking. This is our commercials, right? Tell me whether this fits you as a founder. Do you think whether you're trusting the venture studio with that or not is about, you see, look at the track record, speak to the founders and all that. That's fine, right? Having done all those background research, now you tell this is what. Do you want this? Do you want this for your startup? And me as a venture studio, I always say we are from ideation to exit. So we are not going to be with you for the next 6 months or 1 year. We are going to grow with you. Yeah, and we are looking at startups who have an exit in the next 5 to maximum 8 years, 5 years. I have an exit strategy for myself too. So this is about two people, two organizations growing with each other in a certain geography, in a certain from alpha version to beta to whatever the product line and all that. So I would ask the founders to ask a lot of questions, understand the venture studio better, and then join. You have the slightest doubt, please do not join. For me, I'm always like that, actually no need to join, because if you feel, I like this, but I'm not sure whether I want this, then let's revisit sometime later.
So here's a follow-on question,
Yeah.
and don't throw your shoe at me for this.
No.
I'm just going to ask you this:
Yeah.
Who is more delusional, the venture studio founder or the founders?
Nobody is delusional. We are all here for a purpose, and we all want to do things in a certain way because we believe in certain things. I think nobody is delusional here.
Actually, I would put a spin to this and I'd call it irrational.
Irrational
Okay.
delusions.
I
Yeah.
think there is a stark similarity between being irrational and being delusional. And sometimes in conversation, you would be
Yeah.
One of the two.
like,
One of the two.
One of the two.
Yeah.
This is required, right? If you have to be a startup,
That madness. Yeah, that madness is required.
Delusional, some people should see you as delusional. Man. This is not working.
No, the reason I ask is because from the earlier thing, you've been a founder, a solo founder, and you've gone and built a venture studio. So you've carried some of that scar tissue, spider sense, lizard brain, all of that into the venture studio.
Yeah.
So when you are evaluating somebody who wants to come and join the venture studio, you know whether that person is rational, delusional, not delusional.
Yeah.
So what are the and then there are situations where there are founders who go and talk to venture studios, and the venture studios got this irrational expectation out of what the startup is going to do, right? Currently, the delusion that a lot of people have is that something is going to scale up in the next 9 months to become a $500 million company. It happens, but not here.
Yeah.
We have to be careful of that.
Yeah.
That was the reason why that question was there.
Yeah.
Who is the one who is having?
I understand where your question comes from. Again, because I'm not the venture studio which asks 50%, 60% equity. Definitely, I'm not delusional, and I am not at all. I'm very pragmatic, realistic, simplistic. In my approach in doing things. And similarly, the founders, I have met with some good founders. They're all, I've not met with delusional founders. Probably they don't come to me. People could think that they may have a very mediocre product and think that they're going to change the world. I've not met with such founders. The maximum, the most reason why we wouldn't end up working with each other is because, like I said, the vision and mission doesn't align. but they come back to me after 6 months or 1 year whenever they are ready. We always, okay, maybe not at this point, maybe later. So we always part like that, and they have come back to me. We don't do push, we don't do sales. I'm a very bad salesperson because you see, I respect your independence. If you tell me I don't need this product, I will say, oh, okay, you don't need this product, you know you better. So I would never sell a product on you. So people have been seeing my journey and they come back to me. So I am not the delusional venture studio founder, and I have not met. But people, you say they do exist. So in that sense, they can both be delusional. They can both be rational as well. So I don't know.
Question.
Yeah.
And the same question I'll ask you.
Okay.
Was the choice between a perfect technical product versus a confident irrational one? Which of the two will you can't pick both?
Yeah, I'll take the product one.
Like,
Yeah, the delusional, irrational founder will big time bring even the best or the worst product will come down. Founder is very important. I will never go with an arrogant, overconfident, irrational founder who appears to be charismatic. I've seen many such founders, celebrity founders, as well as people around us who have fallen big time. Product.
You can't ask me that question because I don't fit into the description that she just gave. I'm not delusional, not celebrity.
If you were given a choice, what would you?
A perfect product, not delusional founder.
I
Because
think that's a very simple question that you're asking. I think anybody will pick up.
no, there are people who pick up irrational founders, celebrity founders.
Like we know about the Elizabeth Holmes and Adam Newmans of the world, and you still feel people will pick up.
No, it's all there for us to watch the Netflix original and look at it and say, no, this happened and all of that. But when there have been times when you've seen that that the product just does not have a roadmap. It's probably sorry about this, but it's probably just a credit card reselling engine, right? But it's got 300 million raise, right? That's hype. The hype vortex exists. Let's say. And on the other hand, very good products which could have been success don't find backers simply because it's not founders not glamorous enough.
Yes,
right?
yes.
I have known a couple of people, and don't want to name them here, where the product has been so good that it fit the market. It had all the bells and whistles that are required. It just required that little bit of push for it to go from it being a product to being a success.
Yeah,
right?
I know this.
And you put irrational, backers put irrational metrics for success. That's one to kill. And the other way, I would say that the delusional founder puts impossible exits. It sometimes gets it. That's a different thing. But that balance. So, I would go for the product.
Yeah.
I think for me, a product is never like a perfect product. I think the perfect product.
Yeah. That's right.
But to see that need requires a bit of originality. Otherwise, you'll be like a factory, right?
Look, I mean,
So if you were to ask me that question, I would go for a
delusional founder.
Call it irrational, delusional, but needs to have a bit of innovation.
Very interesting.
Hey, you will eventually. Dushyant, you will swing like this and then come back to the product.
I was going to. I didn't want to say it, but the downfall will be so bad.
The product is also moving.
No,
Product is something that requires need and a bit of irrationality to address.
I agree. Look, I mean,
from that standpoint, I think what we will do now is to switch to this section. Look at the recording house.
No, I'll tell you one last thing before you quit and look at the recording, all of that. One last thing, which is there. The number of times I have heard, and Viveka, you probably would have heard this too. There are founders who want to make a dent in the universe. You know who said that first? Steve Jobs. They all come with Steve Jobs or the Uber founders' charisma or a fake, whatever that is, and imagine that they're going to build it all over again, right? the one thing that I'm very worried about, and in my time I have put money and backed a couple of founders. If the founder is a diva, right, and I'm using this as somebody who I don't want to deal with after the first meeting, right, then I don't want to get involved. And that delusion, that's the delusion that I'm talking about.
No, perfect. I hear you, and I get you. I mean, a lot of this is to do with how people vibe and jam together.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
very important to feel each other's energy. But sometimes, each other completely get that.
Let me
I
take a
think
break here.
We all need to have a bit of rationality on this.
Yeah, we have to have complete insanity to be doing what we are doing.
Yeah.
That
Welcome back. Let's keep this section on Industry 5.0.
Okay.
Yes.
We'll not talk too much about
When-
startups.
Yeah, yeah.
This is
Sure,
about Industry 5.0.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
Viveka loves to talk about.
Yeah.
So, Viveka, is Industry 5.0 is something that we needed just because manufacturing needed to revitalize itself
Yeah.
and talk PR, get more attention, or is it real?
No, it's real. Okay, it's real. So Industry 4.0 is digital transformation, automation, robotics, all of that, right? And let me give you an example. So Adidas, for example, they made speed factories, completely automate everything, take human beings out of it, okay? It can't, they call back all their speed factories, and they put back human beings in junctures where human beings are actually needed. That is Industry 5.0. You cannot take out human beings away when you're trying to digitally transform, automate, anything. So Industry 5.0 is not a jargon. Industry 5.0 is a necessity. It means that you are going to put human beings back again. Why did Adidas, for example, put it back? Because your shoes, you're customizing, you're personalizing, all this. You bring all the AI of the world, you automate everything. You cannot take away the creativity of a human mind. You have to bring back human beings when you're trying to customize and personalize anything, whether it's medical, medtech, or health tech, or whether you're doing something aerospace, right? Industry 5.0 means Industry 4.0, which is using AI and machine learning and all the technologies to automate, using robotics, all of that, plus sustainability, human centricity, and resilience. So whatever you do, it has to be sustainable as a process, sustainable to the environment, and it has to be human centric. Either you have to have, if it is a medtech, it has to be patient centric. If it is a factory, it has to be the employee centric, the labor centric. The idea is not to take them away. The idea is to upskill them to do something better, and it has to be resilient. If another pandemic happens, or if another tariff happens, something happens, the processes should not stop. It has to keep continuing because it's, for some extent, it's automated and it has human intervention in a I would not say remote way possible, but it has human intervention in such a way that even if a pandemic happens, it will still, the human beings and the process both will work in harmony with each other. So that's Industry 5.0.
It's ironical I'm asking this question because I am like a player in
Yes,
that.
yes,
And
you
there
are.
are certain questions that come to me very, very often.
Yeah.
I've always believed manufacturing is like where the creation happens. That's fundamentally how we create. And on top of it, you have the underlying technology, like internet. And what we've seen over the last 20 years is internet has made things possible. We've got markets together, made business very smooth, but not manufacturing anything. It's still so with this advance in technology, we can get benefits manufacturing as such, or is benefiting the large internet organizations guys like AWS or Google, where a large part of this technology is facilitated.
I think it's the Googles and the telecoms, connectivity and the cloud storage and all that is a means to empower these manufacturing process, right? So I wouldn't say they are just getting benefited, no, but we are using them to actually empower or industry 5.0 transform the manufacturing. And I also wanted to say this, last week during GITEX, I was curating all the industry 5.0 sessions. So specifically to make sure that industry 5.0 is not just manufacturing alone, I curated a panel on industry 5.0 in media tech, just to show that industry 5.0 can be fintech, it is in media tech, it is also in manufacturing. Manufacturing is not the only place where automation and digital transformation has to be done in a sustainable, human-centric and resilient way. You can do that for fintech. You're tapping, not using cash. That is industry 5.0, because sustainable, you're not using paper, and resilient, wherever you are, pandemic happens, transactions will still continue to happen. It's human-centric because it puts you, the consumer, in the center of it. So that is industry 5.0 too. So I go out and I keep talking about industry 5.0 always, to tell the world that we are not reinventing anything. Actually, it is there around us, and my job is to be the aggregator or the facilitator, or even sometimes the amplifier of the effort that you, through SmartWiz or a fintech person, is trying to do. You are talking about it. Let me also join and talk about it, so that we amplify the voices.
Right. So, how much of the current buzz around AI or agentic AI replacing everything? This is say like 30% of the workforce is going to get reduced. Headlines yesterday. 30% of workforce is going to get reduced because everything is going to be agentic AI. How much of it is hype in your opinion, and how much of it is real? Because you straddle both sides of the economy.
I think there's a fair bit of hype. Like last week when there was this tech event happening here, 380 startups had bought pod. 380 pods also had the word AI in it. This is real. True story. To the extent that me, a proponent of Industry 5.0, where AI is one of the technologies, felt so nauseating. It really doesn't have to be there. That AI word didn't really make any sense to that particular startup or that particular product that they are building. Okay, but they still wanted to use that word for what? And I also know startups who would, this is also a true story, that just throw the word AI, we are going to talk to the investor. He or she wants to know that we are AI powered.
Yeah, so the other side also, the investors are no longer funding non-AI companies. So, it's kind of a ripple effect of that. If you're not funding AI companies, the entrepreneur in front is going to just add, it's called .ai company. And you are suddenly expected to see.
I understand. The investors also they are just wanting to ride the wave, want to be, I should not miss the bus, invest in AI companies. I think somebody should be sitting on the investor side also to educate on, what AI has to do. It always doesn't have to be in the product today. When the product shows a roadmap, like for example, one of my ventures, deep tech, is also my own invention, right? It's not a medical, it's a radio frequency technology. We were looking at medical use case. Today, it definitely doesn't have AI in it, and it doesn't have to have AI in it. But eventually, it will become a physical AI. Today is agentic AI. This AI revolution will actually peak, and it will, even in a stock market thing, I always tell this. Today, if you invest in something that's physical AI, tomorrow you'll be settled for life, right? So, Wise, my technology, has the potential to be that. But today, unnecessarily, AI doesn't have to be in that. So the investor should understand that when they invest, okay, today it's not there, it's okay, but is there a roadmap, and why is AI being used there? Okay, because it will start collecting data, it will start becoming a predictive model, then AI should be a part of it. Right. Yeah, and similarly, founder also, why are you putting AI inside a physical device like a drone or something? Like today, first can you go collect some data, do some work first before you train the AI model?
Observation has been one long use case for AI. It started using way back in 2010, 2012, before any of this AI.
Right.
And we've been using AI. Like Google has been AI when it starts predicting search, coming close to your personalization with AI, but not the AI that we know in the last 2 years, right? So that has completely changed the context. I might be just a bit digressing from this topic, but I just want to go back to the manufacturing and the industry 4.0. One of the things is the diversity in the sense you have the big companies and the small companies. Unlike what most of the other innovations have done for the industry, like democratizing technology, I've still not seen that happening in industry 5.0. Only the guys who are like big and powerful have money to invest. Those are the ones that can invest in technology. Talk about the small shops who are also manufacturing goods. For them to utilize any technology, they would still not be very sure, right? I mean, one is very expensive, and still they would be in a similar state as what they were say, about 4-5 years back. Not be, and largely that's how most of the Indian shops are. Whereas if you see China or maybe India, there's a large amount of modernization of their work processes, and they are able to. You can see that. So how do you address this? How do you? Where do you see and what? I'm sure it's not just limited to the startups, but also it requires the larger body coming in and making the difference.
Yeah, it's a good question. I can answer in the Singapore context first, right? So when I started River Venture Studio, we are backed by Enterprise Singapore. So I told them we are helping them with their manufacturing 2030 plan. That's my vision, right? And among the many things that manufacturing 2030 plan is, one thing is to ramp up the operations by 50%. Does it mean that you're going to set up new manufacturing units in a small island country? Like, no. It's about digitally transform whatever resources you already have. How can we automate the process and digitally transform so that the productivity increases by 50%, right? So when the government comes up with such policies, Enterprise Singapore also answering you for both startups and SMEs, they do have a lot of incentives to adopt those technologies, right? For you as a startup founder, you want to sell your product to the SME founder. Both of you are tied for cash. So then the government does have a lot of incentives for the SME to buy your product. The SME only has to pay maybe 10% or maximum 30%. It's a win-win for both of you, for you and for the SME. So when I came into picture, this is also one thing. We are a venture studio, we build the tech, but we also make sure that it is the foundation is open innovation. We are really matching the startups with SMEs or corporates. Corporates, no problem, they have the money. If they want to buy your technology, they can buy your technology, right? But I also realized that now, for example, we are trying to expand into GCC area. When I see what's available there, they also have incentives for digitally transforming their organization. So anybody who goes inside those areas is also, they are not paying you, the startup, but they are paying the SMEs or the industries to adopt what. So, and I also know that in India, also there are such government policies. From let me talk to you in the Tamil Nadu context. They have FAME, which takes care of MSME, right? They do have a lot of incentives like that. But the problem is whether it is Enterprise Singapore or FAME or, in the GCC, the relevant bodies, they are doing, the policies are there, the incentives are there, but honestly, the end user does not know that they exist. Something has to be done to make sure that it exists. I'm doing it in my own small way possible, but I cannot reach to everybody. But the people that we reach out to when we're trying to push our startups, we tell them, it's okay, don't worry, we can also help you apply for the government grants to help you buy this product. Yeah.
So it's basically what we were talking yesterday. There has to be somebody who looks at policy for venture studio or a startup which would be able to navigate some of this. Like I was listening to the Ezra Klein show with Tom Friedman, where he spoke about China. He's been a big. He calls himself an American first, who's envious of China. And just carrying on from what you said, is that that probably is the only ecosystem where any business can go and tell the government that I want to do this, and the government steps in and sets everything up. So because they set everything up and say that I will do this for 100, and the survival out of these 100 would be 2, and those 2 will then get pumped with so much amount of fuel
Yeah.
that they become the unicorns of the world. I mean, that's the reason why.
BYD.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is. It's just simple. I mean, a EV company, a phone company becomes a EV company.
Yeah.
A lithium extractor becomes a lithium battery company. The solar, everything is there. And I think that that kind of centricity to the manufacturing sector and saying that we're going to be a manufacturing powerhouse and we're going to just expand in that way. That I think is missing in the DNA in some sense.
Yeah.
So, I rambled a little bit, but my question really on that is that how do more funds look at manufacturing as a potential growth area? Because every fund, or at least in my circle, is over leveraged on technology.
AI.
SaaS. No, it was SaaS, and then SaaS died because AI came in, and then it was generative AI,
Right.
and then there is agentic AI.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the next slide is going to be. So, and it's changed over the last 2020,
It's so fast.
2023 generative AI, 2022 SaaS, 2024 is agentic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right, 2025 is still agentic, but we now moving towards some kind of. When does that kind of hype vortex start happening in the manufacturing sector?
Oh, okay. First of all, for example, it will not happen that way. Like for example, manufacturing or medical technologies, it will take time, right? It can't evolve like DeepSeek. True story. Last year, around October, November, they were in Jitex Dubai having one pod. 3-4 months later, they are billion. They just blew. Then lovable 3 months, and then they're $100 billion company. It can only happen in the world of AI. It will not happen in the world of manufacturing unless it is going to use AI for some sort of process again. It will not happen in manufacturing, or it will not happen in a medical device sector. But the thing is, for an investor, it will not happen. You can't put your money today and expect something to happen in the next 3-4 months. It will take 3 years, 4 years. It's another kind of investment that is also needed. You can't stop manufacturing and use only DeepSeeks and Lovables, and it is there for some reason, and it will take its own time. You can reduce the bureaucracy, you can automate and reduce the process timing and all that, but it will still be more time than your agentic AI or whatever. But that's reality, and we need to accept it. Yeah.
So the shift will have to be from impatient capital to patient capital.
Yes, I think so. Yeah, but everybody wants quick money. I'm in the semiconductor field and also medtech field, both fields which will take at least 10 years to productize and make money out of. But the thing is, before I used to say, to build my medical device, it will take 10 years. But when it happens, it's $1 billion industry. I can't even say that anymore, because an AI company can be in 3 months $1 billion industry by itself, right? But the thing is, I'm not even asking the investors to look at the impact or whatever, right? Sometimes this kind of bubble will burst, but manufacturing and medical technology, it is there to stay. It is there to serve the humanity for some reason. It is not the next big thing for the next 1-2 years and then it will fade off. They have to have that in mind also. Whether you want to ride the wave, take quick exist, next big thing, 2 years, it's okay, who cares? I made my money, is fine. Or you have money, you want to invest in something sustainable and long lasting. Yeah, it's totally up to the investor. It's a very difficult thing.
Yeah, so another question to this, another few questions to this. Whenever we see modernization, whether it's in manufacturing or say in any of these, now we're talking about AI. In fact, our first employee obviously was Claude. What do you say about, the fundamental reason why we would have is to increase the number of jobs, etc. Right? But as soon as you have this modernization, you see a lot of layoffs happening. People
Yeah.
becoming redundant. Uh, where and why should anyone, and especially at the government side, where you're looking at more people getting jobs or people getting employed, where do you draw the line? Do you still want it to be less money and have employ more people, like how we still have it in India, or push for more modernization and more technology and less number of people, which means people do need to have newer skills every year, every now and then.
Okay, Industry 4.0 might have replaced people, but then I'm talking about Industry 5.0, which is bringing people back in. So we are still having people. But I also have another thing to your question is when the tech companies, they have some investment or they have something, they just mindlessly hire people. And then when certain things happen, they then let them go off. I am a person who is very lean. Whatever I have built with myself and probably two more people. So I think before going and when you have, will I hire 20 people when I have $1 million? No. $10 million? No, unless it's necessary. I would not hire anybody unnecessarily. It has to be a very efficient and effective team who aligns with the vision and mission. I think this is about the HR thing. It's not even about, I have a lot of money. Sometimes people ask me, how big is your team? You've done so much. How big is your team? When I say only me and two more people, they're like, really? Not a good thing. But actually, you know what, you go and think about it yourself. I've done so much with such a little team. What you might need 20 people to do that. I don't need it. I'm more efficient and effective than you. So I think it's more on the HR thing. Don't go, whether it's a startup or a corporate, do not hire people unnecessarily and then give them, because it's also about a human thing, right? You give them a hope, you give them some kind of stability in their life for 1 year and then lay them off. Why? Don't hire them in the first place. Think about it, project it. Do you need them? Downfall, when your company goes down, also you should not let that workforce go, right? Yeah.
No, perfect. I think what technology is helping us do is to be rational about hiring. To be honest, it's not very, and you have to pay to get quality people. But at the same time, now a lot of stuff can be managed on.
Another thing I want to say about the Generation Z, really, we're millennials and all, yeah, we are there. I don't know what we are. Gen Zs, when there is when I think in a way the nature is trying to close the gap somehow by itself. Generation Z is a generation where they actually really don't care. They are very hardworking. They are very proactive. They also know how to make money by making reels. I'm not telling this in a looking down manner at all. They know how to survive. So one side there is need that, okay, we are modernized or digitally transformed. We don't really need that much manpower. And actually the manpower is also not seeking for the job. I can make YouTube videos, I can make reels, and it's kind of balancing out, I feel. So we are all safe.
It's very I was reading.
So I'm not a millennial at all. I'm
What do you mean?
Animated,
Yeah, so this guy, Ravi,
The vision is now we are about 7.5 billion people. There will be 7.5 billion different jobs built because internet is made up. No, he was right. In media, we used to talk about it. 2012, we used to talk about it. The broadcaster of one, which is basically going one TV channel which is doing things out on week. This would be everyone is a broadcaster, everyone is a TV channel, and that's what is happening. Influencers, podcast hosts, people like us, we are broadcasters. Now that has changed the way that democratization and all of that, but it also brought the other side, other effect of it, that how much amount of democratization is actually needed. If everybody is creating, who is consuming? And that's one. The other is that for all the things, and markets like India, massive, we will not talk about China, that's completely different. Markets like India, if you feel happy about 1.6 billion people, but the actual consumption is 100 million. So what do the rest of them do? The rest of them are consuming something. They just there. But 100 million people are the ones who are saying. So all the India internet economy is dependent on 100 million people. And that's made it such a fragile thought to take. So everything that everyone's building for 1.5 billion people is actually for that 100 million people. And those 100 million people are flaky.
Scary.
So, so and it ties into that, the Generation Z. My daughter's 18, so she obviously, she's not creating reels or anything, she just does this thing. But her
I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to generalize that.
No. So her idea of this is that why do I need to find a job? Because I need to travel. I need to see 30 countries before I'm 30. She's 18 right now, so she's got 12 years, and she's done 7 or 8 countries already. So that's the task that she has. That's the ambition that she has. And that's very different from me when I was 18. 18, when I was 18, that was decades ago. My thing was that, am I going to clear my next paper? And that's the.
Yeah. Which college? Which paper?
So look, if I say all of that, people who are backing me will back out. So, so let's not. Go and check on my LinkedIn profile and find out where I came from. Let's not put it on a podcast.
No, absolutely. I know
But the question is, where does the money for travel come?
She worked for money for travel. So she worked for just that much. Right?
I'm not a gypsy, but I used to do part-time when I was doing PhD. The only reason I did that part-time without me liking it at all is because the money that I earned, I'd go and travel. I would just keep going and doing that on the Saturday, Sunday. Then one day, if I have this money, I can bring my parents and I can travel. So,
Same.
very hard-earned money.
I will do an internship. I will do an internship only because it's going to give me this money for which, so it's going to cost me this to go to this particular country. Hence, I will.
Yes, I wish I had saved all that money, but I just spent everything in travel.
that's good. You could save up for maybe save up for the future, save up for the car, or save up for something.
Then saving
we
is
not
a
allow.
lot of money that I need to save, so let's not talk about financial planning here, but yeah.
Okay. There are certain set of questions that we want to ask you, and we put them down. This is not in a random order, but this is.
Sure.
If there was one word that you want to ban in the startup space and in this industry 5.0 space, which would that be?
I don't want to ban it, but I want to use the word AI in a very mindful way. Really, it was so nauseating last week for me that I definitely not want to ban it. Industry 5.0 as AI is a very important element. I just want it to be used in the right way. Yeah.
That is so true. Like you said, 380 startups, and all of them using AI.
One don't
All
start.
of them.
They don't build hardware. They are just thinking about building the hardware in a certain way, and then they still have AI inside there.
It is that क्या आपके टूथपेस्ट में नमक है it is AI. That is what it is. Every other toothpaste when they put namak in it.
So that only reflects how old people are.
I'm sure.
I remember that.
But there will be a so.
Okay, question number 2. If there was a truth which you feel all the others, including investors and startups, believe in, which you feel is not true, what will that be?
I'm sorry, but I think I should use the thing AI that if you have AI, then you are going to be a successful startup. Even for founder and the investor, they think they put AI inside, they can be successful. Actually, not at all. True.
Okay, let me reframe my question. What would be the second truth? First thing is definitely AI.
No, like what is the one thing that they think is true but is actually not?
But it's actually alright. I mean, what do you think from maybe the venture studio experience or as a startup founder? Do you think that's overwhelming? And
Okay. Then I started to venture studio for the kind of services that we give. This one I have in mind. Growing and raising investment is very important. Fundraising is important. But I really believe in organic revenue. That is why while we help our startups fundraise, which is important, but that's not the only thing. We want to help our startups have organic revenue. There is nothing like that. I would never onboard a startup into our accelerator side if we know that we really cannot help them do some deployments or something. So I believe the whole fundraise for winter, fun winter, I think it's always funny in the quarter. Some startups they can go on easily. So I actually really don't believe in this thing at all. You do your job, make sure that your technology is actually very useful for somebody is using. And this paper value of 100 billion, 200 billion, oh, the youngest 3 billion, it's all in the paper, right? I think it's all the valuation. That's the word. Valuation thing is super tight and super not important, super not useful for anybody. Actually.
That's very radical in that sense.
Okay.
Uh,
I mean it that way though. Yeah.
So, if you were to classify all the startups that have done pitch to you, you know, and if you had a comedy tonight, would it be like a Netflix thriller show or a Netflix comedy? What way would you classify this? Rom-com.
It's so nice. It's so beautiful.
This rom-com just came out of the blue. Horror flick. But there's
Not with my founders, not with the startups, nothing so adventurous, you know. My life with my investors, my adventures, I don't know what way it's like a real show, but the startup itself, I think so far at least, whether it's my journey starts not with River Red Flag, amazing people, it's a very nice relationship, it's really nice, so yeah, it's not adventurous. My relationship with my founders, you know.
that's a great thing because in this phase we are only stress in the drama or maybe success in the high that we get. But it's much about learning, building relationships,
Yeah, absolutely.
knowing people. I think that's what startup does to us. Everything that comes out of it is
Yeah, like I like this. I think the whole thing we can summarize the relationship that we have. Viveka and Smart is a Viveka Kalidasan, right? We have worked together in the Vietnam, and we did not force each other to become a part of Brew Studio. And still, he invited Anton here, and still he's happy to have this conversation with me. That is the kind of interest studio that I am, and that's the kind of relationship that we have with our startup founders, previous and current ones. I really know that after 3 years with my current founders also I can have this conversation. We will only have that kind of relationship. So nice. Yeah.
That is very rare.
Yeah.
Very rare. Normally, there are massive fallouts that happen. This is very rare. So congratulations on that.
Thank you. I feel I came here to do my PhD 13 years ago. Whatever I am today, it's because of the network that I built. I really value human beings. Anything and everything toxic, I just don't go that side. I have too many problems in my life. And because I'm a very ambitious person, want to achieve certain things, I don't like having too much relationships, toxic, intense. So I try to avoid, and we only have a good relationship. We'll never overpromise something, or we'll never, it will not happen. It's not really overpromising, it's about having a smooth relationship. When we see it will not work out, then we don't go in there.
So last question from me at least is that, so if you want to do reset everything and start from zero, so which of the three would you go for? Will you go back to saying that I'll do a venture studio, or will you do the solo founder, or you just go and join some place and
I will do the venture studio. But slightly, like I said, I'm a person who will not regret anything in the past. When I just feel that I started a venture studio, bootstrap, craziest human being on earth like me. Building one startup bootstrap is so difficult. Thinking about building so many startups when you're being bootstrap. I don't think anybody in the world could have done that. I was going to say I might have raised capital first, or I would have made the capital first before I started. But then I'm going against my philosophy in my life. I'm also not a person who will, okay, you save this much money and then you start a venture studio. Life never happens to me that way. I'm an impulsive person in that sense. I want to do it, I just jump in and do it. Literally also, like once I jumped into the sea, I only asked one question. We were in a cruise and I thought the shore was here. It is an illusion. It is an illusion that, I see shore. Then I asked this guy, are there sharks here? Invested? He said, no, I just jumped. Everybody was shocked. And I feel that is what I'm bringing to my day-to-day life. So I just jumped. People around me shocked, like, what? This girl, like, she just left a very high-paying corporate job to do this. Because I believe and I see something, near or far, I see something, and I just go on with that. So the answer is I will still do the venture studio because 5 years ago, somebody did the interviews and they asked, okay, you have come for this job, what do you see yourself in the next 5 years? Knowingly, I always said I want to be sitting in the board of a few startups, and I actually did that. I did not plan to become that. Whatever I did took me to that. So I feel I will do the same. That might try to have a little bit of capital backing somehow, but I love what I'm doing.
That's a great day to be. I think what I get from Viveka is this. The relational self again, and I would absolutely not but a bit of relationality. There is all of us, and being the start of the way to visit. But Viveka, it was lovely talking to you, learning about your impact, the industry 5.0, and about innovation that you bring to the startup space in India, in Singapore, and River Venture Studio. We would love to talk to you again, maybe in the future.
Yeah, so we've been planning this for a really long time. What we intend to do, and Founders Brew eventually is to become more offline. That means at least once in a month we want to get early stage founders into one room, not networking, not trying to raise money or fund anything like that. It's just that a support group which is missing in this part of the world.
Oh, I know this. I think I told this to Dushan. He used to tell me also, if you have any problem, just call me. Really early. I'll tell you I will do this again. But I also know that the next, after 2-3 months, when you're bootstrapping, you're always struggling to raise fund. You are there happy with all your commitments and all that, and you will still do this. Only crazy people are like that. So it's nice to meet such fellow crazy people and know how they're doing it. Give foreign support to each other. I'd love to come to such events. Yeah.
We do intend to do that in the next 1 month or so.
Yeah, absolutely. I think everything, and our only promise is the conversation will not die till the coffee. There's coffee becomes coffee.
You did not give me coffee. I wanted to give you I'm coffee only while I'm having one.
So that's a great idea.
Yeah.
That's a great idea. We call this time.
Yes.
From the leak surrounding to here. Next time we'll get the coffee.
Yeah.
The coffee.
Yeah.
The coffee. Sorry.
Yes.
Because you said Founders Brew, right? I wanted to start by asking where's my coffee, and then I'm ending by that.
You should have asked that. Where is your coffee?
Coffee is brewing. It's there's one flight going. It's coming. It's coming.
Okay. Yeah. But I forgot to tell you for us. Really nice talking to you as well. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Viveka.